As I am sitting on this bench, a few days away from my cycle, which is always a rough time for me, really even like 2 weeks before my cycle can be a hard time, but having what they want to call pmdd, I don't really go by diagnoses because they really don't mean anything, but I often feel very dissociated, which it stands for premenstrual dysphoric disorder. But I'm sitting here and I'm realizing that this is just a part of my life that I've had to accept. I'm not mad at it. I know that I'm not alone with it. I know that this is one of the many layers of what it means to be a female. And that brought me, I went on a walk, different little walk than I usually do, sitting on this bench looking at this river, and I'm thinking, well, what does femininity mean to me? What does feminine mean to me? What does being a female mean to me? And I think as somebody who's grown up, as I've talked about before, in a very feminist culture, being a 24-year-old female who grew up in, Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is very liberal, a lot of that was kind of like pounded into my head. Also being raised by a single mother who took on very many masculine roles, as you do when the masculine entity is not there, or a part of the unit, the family unit. The term feminine has always been a word that I have had problems with. I guess there's probably a better word for it. I've had qualms. I've had qualms with the word feminine. For a long time, I didn't think feminine was a good term. I didn't like it. I didn't identify with it. And because I didn't identify with it, or because I didn't have a deeper understanding of it, I immediately, as most people do when you don't understand something or you don't want to look into something, you reject it. I rejected femininity for so long. And one of the reasons is because it was unfamiliar, which I think is the reason why a lot of people avoid many things in their life, whether it be addictions, whether it be generational issues, whether it be family issues, whatever, body issues, you avoid because you're unfamiliar with it and it feels dangerous. Something I've often told Kyle is learning for me feels very vulnerable. And I think that's something that we don't take into consideration when we're learning things about anything, really. But learning about the female energy and learning what that is truly meant to look like. And of course it varies from everybody, right? But for me, I don't know if I talked about it in the last episode, but, being raised by the two women in my life, being my grandma and my mother, they didn't have typical feminine roles, I think in a lot of these generations with like Gen X and Boomer, there's this like stigma, or not, I don't want to say stigma, there's this kind of assumption being made, and that's always kind of been made, that says that a lot of these people, especially probably the Boomer, were like stay-at-home wives, or I guess it's not an assumption, but I think people think of that they were stay-at-home wives, or that they, kept their mouth shut and let their husband do their thing, whatever, which is the case for a lot of families, I'm sure, but at least in my family and the ones that I kind of have looked at throughout the years, the females are running things. And not that females should not be running things. The amount of responsibility that a lot of the women I have known have held is a lot. And again, that's not to say that women shouldn't hold on to a lot of responsibility. I mean, there's responsibilities for males and females, of course, different things. But I just noticed the heavy masculine energy that the women dominated in my family. And that's not to say that it's a bad thing necessarily. Sometimes things just happen. But, coming into this new time of my life of a lot of acceptance and a lot of sitting back and looking at things, questioning things, and taking as much accountability as I can, I've realized that, like I said, the word feminine has almost felt like a threat to me. A threat meaning it made me almost feel weaker. If you hear bikes going by, I apologize. I didn't realize this was such a busy area on the trail. But yeah, it felt like a threat. It felt like I was giving up something because of what I've seen in my family, identifying with this masculine role, being this bad bitch, being a boss bitch, being, all these things I heard of in high school and in my liberal town, watching my mom struggle at work jobs, have to do things that women shouldn't technically do. And her fault for some of it, sure, but also things are the way that they are for a lot of different people because of a lot of different things. So I'm not here to bash or fucking sit here and complain. But, we've already talked a lot about my family. But, watching this and consistently consuming this idea that women should be in this masculine role, even though if it's not outright like said, I think the whole feminist movement is that ideal in a nutshell. And I subscribed to it for a very long time, and the word feminine seems to have been so ruptured, and I think that's one of the reasons I never identified with it, because I think that it's also been used in a term or in a way that signifies weakness, and I'm not sure if that's strictly from like the feminist movement and the whole boss babe type thing, the hustle mentality, which I think men are supposed to have, the hustle and grind thing. But I felt like the term feminine is used in a negative way, or like I said, signifies weakness, and I don't think that's true, because I think that feminine and masculine energy are the two things that make the world go round. I think it's what makes a stable family unit, and the fact, even think, that feminism, or not feminism, but feminine energy was in a way weakness is kind of crazy. And like I said, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about it, and I've paused this video a couple times because people keep like running by and they're very loud, so I'm really trying not to lose my train of thought, because I had it before I started recording, of course. But here, maybe if I put my headphone in, it'll be a little bit less loud. But yeah, the feminine and masculine energy is what makes everything go round, and I think that there's been blurred lines, especially in today's world, about the importance of them. And so this isn't like going to be a full episode or anything, but I just felt like I needed to say this, because being in this luteal phase, going into menstruation, and you guys know I'm not necessarily spiritual, but I'm very earthly like that, and I'm very sensitive to the changes in my body. I feel it. I feel the difference. I've been having a calling to having children recently. I felt a void that not surrendering myself to a corporate stupid job is going to fix. I've felt a void that nothing will be able to fix at all, but I'm not going to fill the void with vanity, with, like I said, corporate jobs that get you nowhere, because mostly having a job is just getting you from paycheck to paycheck, especially these days, but we don't need to go into that. But I've just been having this call to have children, and that's a whole other thing with the feminist movement, right, is I'll just, yeah, I'm not going to get into a whole talk about that, but it's sad when you think about it. It's sad that for years we've been slowly tricking women into believing that, being stressed and busy and working your ass off and partying and sleeping with men from your 20s to 30s and then trying to get pregnant when you're 30, not in your ideal phase for that, is normal, when really having a family and raising children, I told Kyle this yesterday, eating, shitting, pissing, sex, and having children is like what most species are here to do, and that includes us. Obviously, we are more intelligent and everything, but going back to the roots, I think, is so important. But back to the feminine and masculine energy, yeah, we've definitely had things blurred, and I think the importance of each of those roles is so large, and of course they're going to mean something different for everybody. I don't think that I'm ever going to be so outwardly feminine that like I'm seeping the color pink, you know what I mean? But trying to get comfortable with that term and trying to get comfortable with the fact that being feminine isn't bad is something that I'm sitting here kind of realizing that I think, and I don't want to think that way anymore, because God put me here to be a female. If I wasn't meant to be a female, I'd be a male, and I'm meant to live this life of mine as a female and understand what that means. So, which brings me back to the beginning of why I started this. What does femininity, what does feminine energy, what does being a female mean to me? And the reason I thought of this also was because the episode I'm going to record with Kyle is going to be a good one. I have some notes written down, but just some things that have been happening with families recently that's been making me realize how many women have been so brainwashed, and how trying to talk to them, not even just families actually too, but just people I've spoken to in the past few days, it's amazing how brainwashed that women are into believing that this hustle and grind mentality is what they are meant for, and the judgment and jealousy that comes when they see another female being taken care of. And I truly believe that that is a disgrace, and I feel so sad for these women, because sometimes I'll get angry that women don't seem to see nor support other women when they want to be, a stay-at-home mom, a full-time mom, full-time wife, any of these things. And they believe that they have this journey and career that they need to have, when being a mother and being a wife is a full-time job and career. And the fact that we take that and make it secondary in a lot of cases is crazy. And don't get me wrong, I understand money's tight, money's crazy right now. I'm not here to judge anybody, but I'm saying there are defined roles in the Bible and for generations for a reason, because things like that work. And I've done lots of videos and stuff on the collapse of the family unit in America and throughout the other countries. And it all starts with this breaking up of families. The whole reason I believe they want women going to college isn't so that you can be a boss babe and get your degree. It's so they have two incomes that they can tax. They have two people that have Sally Mae loans that they have to get. It's just more money for them. That's just a little theory of mine. But anyway, yeah, it's watching and listening to a lot of women who are so brainwashed with this ideology of hustle, grind, career, boss babe, boss bitch, it's all equality, but only when it's convenient for them. I'm just not into that anymore, and I haven't been into it for a long time, and I think there's a lot of people that are waking up to that. And I think that when you do, there's going to be a moment where you have to reinvent what the word feminine means to you. And now, just brainstorming, what does feminine mean to me? I think it means, number one, this beautiful duality of being able to set boundaries and to say no, but also be able to give immense love to not only your family and your spouse, but to yourself. It is creating space for everyone's feelings in your household, including your own. It is nurturing, again, to everybody else, but also to yourself. It's kindness. It's softness. It's slowness. And that is something that was really hard for me to sit down and really look at. Being in this world, being in such a fast-paced, consume world was purposefully done. And I believe it was purposefully done so that everybody could be stressed, everybody could be anxious. Big Pharma can profit off of that. And you keep having people making bad decisions, not just financially, not just spiritually, morally, everything. I mean, something Kyle told me, or he expressed, that I thought was so perfect, was we were a Christian nation. Now we are a capitalistic consumer nation. Vanity and buying has consumed what used to be, good Christian morals. And you don't have to be a Christian or even religious to know that some of the morals that we lived by were not bad. It's not bad, and now we have people so anti-religious, right? Which of course I believe is done on purpose, but living in the world where it's so fast-paced, it's not only is it not meant for people, because this is not how our ancestors lived. They rested a lot, they ate better food, they slept better, they did less, they were relaxed. But it has made women and men, but we're talking about, feminine right now, so stressed. And when you are stressed, you end up acting out of fear. And I don't think that feminine is in any terms or any way related to fear. And I think there's a little bit of worry. I think us females can worry quite a bit, overthink quite a bit. We're thinkers, right? We have different brains than men. But we're not meant to be hustlers and grinders, We can, of course, do those things. We can go out there and fucking shoot a deer. We can go out and hunt. We aren't these little frail damsels in distress. But we're not meant to be in this hustle culture. This isn't what we're supposed to do. And I think that's why there's such a disharmony. I look at a lot of families and I see this where these moms are like running the household, and not just like, taking care of the kids and doing a lot. No, they're running their husbands. And it's like, I don't want to be like that. Of course, there's going to be times where things overlap or people, there's maybe a hierarchy switches, every once in a while. I can see that. Maybe hierarchy is like the wrong term, but, modes may change. But for the most part, it's like, it's causing a lot of disharmony in families. It's causing a lot of resentment from husbands to wives and wives to husbands, because we've created a society in which men don't feel safe in their masculine energy and women have taken it over. And so then what does that leave the men? Feminine energy. And of course all men have that, but now they're just dipping into it too much, and we're just not meant for that. I don't believe that. And creating this whole new idea for myself about what feminine energy means to me is realizing that, and realizing that this panic and this stress and this perfection that I'm chasing is not meant for me. And not only is it slow, what else does feminine energy mean to me? It means, like I said, patience. It means calm. It means in some certain times, oftentimes, solitude. It means self-care. And I hate that term. I almost wish that I hadn't even said it. But because I think that term has been changed and used into like this whole light a candle and take a bath, it's self-care, which by all means, that is self-care. Do that for sure. But, now everybody's like, well, I need a little sweet treat. Self-care. It's like, no, that's not what self-care is. What is going to enrich your soul? What is going to enrich your closeness with God and spiritual energy? What is going to heal your body? What is going to nourish your body? These are the things that are important and what self-care should be. Not, eating a cupcake because you think every Wednesday you need to do a self-care day where that involves a cupcake. If that's what it is for you, fine, whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. But you see what I mean. And I sit here honestly, and I wanted to do even like a bigger brainstorm. I'm sure while I'm sitting here, more ideas will come and hit me. But I don't even know what feminine energy means to me sometimes because I'm so disconnected from it. And that's something I've been working on for probably the last year. Acceptance. I think that acceptance, and realizing you aren't going to get everything done. I think that giving in, not giving up, but giving in to life and to what's happening on the daily, going with the flow, that's feminine. Peacemakers within yourself, for your family, nourishing not only you, but of course your family. Sacrifice. And I'm so glad I thought of that one. Because as I've talked about a lot on this channel with me and Kyle's family, but mostly me and my family, when you have children, your duty and gift as a mother is to sacrifice. And you can look at that as, and there's a lot of people out there right now that are choosing not to have kids because they're selfish, because they're not willing to give up that sacrifice, because now in this world there's so many things that can just light up that dopamine sensor for you instead of the actual rewarding things like having a family would do. There's a lot of women coming out right now saying that they're regretting getting a part of the whole feminist movement because of that, because they're realizing that they missed out. But as a mother and as a wife, sacrifice is important, and it's not this thing that you have to do and despise. It's a blessing, and it allows you to truly realize what matters to you. And being selfless and giving is what I think feminine means to me. And I think people that have a healthy connection with their feminine energy also, like I said in the beginning, they set boundaries, but they make space. They make space for themselves. Sometimes you need time alone. And I know I mentioned solitude, but as I go through even this shift just before I menstruate, I can feel that I need space, and I'm also spaced out. And I know that actually happens for a lot of women too. Before they go into labor, like a few weeks, they start kind of shutting down a little bit, getting prepared for that. And I have a poem, if I can, I know I could find it. It's kind of deep in my book now, but it's a whirlwind to be a woman, because it's not just about the scientific things we know about the hormonal fluctuations and changes. It's, for me, I feel those things so deeply, and being able to accept, right, the fact that that's okay, because that's what I'm here to be able to handle. And trusting God, I think, is also very feminine. Trusting God, trusting the universe, earth, nature. Getting back to nature is feminine. Respecting Mama Earth and learning from her, I think that would really help not just feminine energy, but masculine energy as well, because you can't control nature. And I think that we, as ignorant humans, have forgotten that, and you do not have any say over God's will. So being connected spiritually is, I think, your duty as a woman and a man, to figure out what that can mean for you. And yeah, I think it truly is striking how feminine energy I shouldn't say feminine energy, but just femininity and being feminine is almost like a trigger to me. I'm saying it and I don't like it. I don't like the way that it sounds in my mouth. I don't like the way it tastes in my mouth. And I really have to dig deeper. Really dig deeper and figure out why. Why does that not sound tasteful to me? Why do I not respect that in my body? And what am I respecting instead that might not be serving me any longer? Because I think, as I said, with boundaries and saying no, being in, being in the feminine energy and how that's important, cutting off ties to things that no longer serve you and are wasting your time, wasting your family's time. I think that's important as well. And that's not just feminine or masculine. I think that's everybody. But having the strength and the courage to say no to things that no longer serve any purpose to you. And like I think I already mentioned, accountability and staying accountable and staying emotional. Not retaliating or being emotional to the point where it's not even really doing you any favors. Always try and label those things, label your emotions and speak well on them and ask for help. But being sensitive, that's why we're here to be moms, because we're sensitive and we can take care of our young and make them feel loved. And we often forget to do that for ourselves because of this new world that we live in. And it's quite a bummer, if I do say so myself. Female energy, man. I hope to acquire a better relationship with it. I think that's one of the things that this void is telling me. I've just been having a call. I really have, and it's odd because for so long I felt so fearful of having children. Not that I thought I wouldn't be able to do a good job. That wasn't it. It was just I wanted to be as perfect as I could to have them. And I realized that you're never, ever going to be perfect. This is just kind of like an epiphany that I had like 2 weeks ago that I am actually really happy to share with you guys. I realized I'm never going to be perfect. There's someone who I've met with once who's a big therapist in, I believe, the UK. And she mentioned how a lot of people with, generational trauma are never healed. You're about 70% healed, 30% unhealed. And I think that's all we can hope for. Obviously, we would want to be healthier and happier always, but I think that's a pretty reasonable percentage, and the part that we keep missing, and I think everybody deals with, is this illusion that we need to be a certain way before something happens, which I just think is based in fear, right? And fear is a healthy emotion. There's a lot of things like fear, anger, sorrow, grief, the bad emotions that are actually very primal and normal for us to have. We just exude them differently now because we have different worries than we did than our primal ancestors and everything. But, the reason that we're meant to be here, I believe, is to not only grow and, be a part of that whole childhood type experience and then become adolescent and an adult, but we're meant to have children, and the children help you grow. Of course, you're trying to do your best to raise a healthy and happy child, and that's rewarding in itself, and you want to see them prosper and, fill them with love and guidance and confidence, but they also form you. Everything changes, or it should change after you have your kid. For some people, it does not, or they have children for the wrong reasons because they're lonely and whatever, But we're meant to be here to have children because they add that element to this, and they add the element to your life that just shows you the elements of yourself that you don't like, the things that you need to work on. They make you question things. They make you see things differently. They soften you. They allow you to learn patience, especially in a world that is so fast-paced and so just everything's over the top, man. And they allow you to slow down. They allow you to see things differently. The world will look different. I know it will. Not only when I have a child, but just when I'm pregnant, things change. Your partner changes, your relationship changes, and it's meant to change. Just like having grandchildren, even that is meant to change you. It's like it's what we're here to do. So this whole feeling of I need to be a certain way before I have my kids, of course, own your shit. But you're not going to be able to own all your shit by the time you want to have kids, because then I'm going to be in menopause or whatever. Like, there's no way. And then there's going to be more things that happen. So kind of accepting that idea and looking at my life, looking at my partner, looking at me, and feeling this void and knowing that the world wants me to fill it with a mundane job that won't get me anywhere, or, going out and drinking or dancing with friends because that's what you do when you're 24. You're so young. No. We're meant to have this full experience, and it's not drinking, drugging, dancing. It's not having a pretty much meaningless career. Not that you can't have a career, or not that I won't finish my book and have a moment with that where I'm very proud of it. Of course not, There's a whole bunch of different avenues in life that I think can all come together to make a great life. That's why it's chapters in a book, right? The life isn't just one chapter. But the whole experience is, or I should say the whole void thing that I'm feeling, is, I think, a baby. And not that that's going to be what I'm doing right now, not even maybe within the next year. I have things I want to sort out. We have a lot of stuff coming up, which I'm actually really excited, really, really excited for. We've been waiting and praying for so long for some good news to hit us, and it finally has. So we'll probably update you guys on that with the podcast I have scheduled to do with Kyle. In a few days we should record it, but it's a baby. It has to be, because that's what life is, and I'm not going to sit here and live my life wasting it doing what society expects me to do. I'm not gonna let societal expectations hold me down. I'm not going to allow the masses who are unhealthy, both physically, mentally, and spiritually, make me feel bad for my decision to go back to nature and nature's ways, and to experience what it truly means to be feminine. So yeah, I'm really glad that I got to share all that with you guys, and it seemed very concise. We can thank cold brew for that, and some good time in nature that will clear your head up a little bit. But yeah, I am really excited for my future. I'm nervous. I get a little scared sometimes, but I truly believe that a baby is definitely going to make its way into my life in a decent amount of time here. And the thing is kind of like a side note before I hop off here. Even if I wasn't with Kyle, I've always said, like, God forbid anything, right? I still wouldn't subscribe to society's expectations. Like, I told him multiple times that I would be like a drifter. I'm not. And there's so many reasons. I've talked about so many of them on here. But it's not me being an asshole or being lazy because I don't want to work, or I don't want to do what I'm supposed to be doing, because what does that even mean? But I just don't think that living the way most people live, like the main majority of the population, is by any means healthy or resembles anything of what our DNA requires. So I'm just going to go do, God forbid if anything happens, like that's my plan, is to just be a drifter and be an oddball and live life as fully and as feral as possible. And I'm going to try and give my kids that life as well, and also let them know that they have me and Kyle's full support no matter what they do. But yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. I guess it ended up being a more full type of episode, a little bit different. Kind of just wanted to take you on a brainstorm with me about all this, and kind of just share my thoughts and feelings on, as I've said multiple times already, the divine feminine, and just an epiphany that I had. And yeah, I think that this is going to be one of the best episodes I put out. Not only will it maybe give women a different perspective, but I think help men understand a little bit too about the female role, or what I guess I believe the female role is. And as always, if you guys have any questions, comments, or anything to say, always comment. Yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, have a great weekend. I recorded this on Saturday, so hopefully you guys had a good and safe weekend. So take care. Bye.